All right, everyone. Welcome to the Team Wiz NFL Week 8 podcast. My name is Marty, and I'm here with some special guests. We have Mr. Kyle over here. Kyle, how you doing today?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good, good. And we've got Pat here as well. Pat, how you doing?
I'm great, man. It's hard to believe it. It's week 8 already.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's been week 8. We've already done 8 of these things, so we appreciate everyone viewing in week after week. Last week we had over 4,400 hits, so we really appreciate you guys taking a look at this. We're here to give you guys advice and hopefully help you win some of your cash games, so we appreciate the feedback, definitely. We're going to go ahead and go through week 8 NFL slate. We're going to pick out all the cash game plays that we feel are best for this week. We'll throw out GPPs as we see them as well, but this is really more focused on the cash game plays. So with that, we'll go ahead and just jump right into it. We're going to start with the first game on the slate. It's the 9:30 game. It's 9:30 Eastern Time game. It's Detroit versus Kansas City. Kansas City is favored by 4 here, and the over-under is 45. So what do you guys think about this game going all the way over to London? It's an early game. What do you guys think?
If you're playing this late, make sure you have Megatron in your lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I like all the aerial attacks on both sides, actually.
Yeah, Jeremy Maclin as well, but Calvin Johnson's the one must play. You gotta have him.
I couldn't agree more, man. The Lions, new coaching system. We don't know what it's going to look like yet. But from what I hear, he has a good rapport with Matt Stafford. They have been together for a while, so from what I'm hearing, it sounds like he's going to let him, kind of let him loose and let him do his own thing. I did read earlier today where they're going to start throwing the ball further downfield, so that just confirms what Kyle said. Get the ball to Megatron because his favorite deep target, Stafford's favorite deep target, is Megatron. I also like Eric Ebron in this game. He's seeing any game he plays, seeing 9 to 12 targets a game. Both of these teams are somewhat decent versus the run, so they're both just going to feed each other to throw the ball. We've seen teams torch the Chiefs secondary all year. Same goes to say with the Lions secondary as well. They're definitely not a force to be reckoned with. So I would probably tread lightly on the Chiefs side because you are looking at Alex Smith throwing the ball. If I had to pick one side, it would be the Lions, but Macklin's healthy. If he plays, you got to think Macklin's an option, but also if Macklin plays, that means defenses have to focus in on him and probably frees up some room for Kelsey as well. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like Kelsey in here too.
Yeah, I'm not as big on Kelsey this week. I just don't think he'll have the production that I think you're going to need for his price point. I think there's some other tight ends, but not a horrible play, but I just think there's some better ones on the slate that we'll get into.
I agree. He might be more of a GPP play, but like Kyle said, if you're playing the slate, Megatron, Macklin, cash game, get him in. I actually think this game goes over the over-under at 45 here.
Yeah, it's a good call.
I think it's a shootout.
I agree.
Yeah, with Kansas City giving up the most points to wide receivers, most fantasy points to wide receivers, Megatron's definitely a good play here if you're playing this slate. Also, if you're doing a GPP, look at Golden Tate as well. He'll probably get a lot of targets. He's been seeing more and more targets recently, so could be a good option there as well.
It's a good call.
All right, let's move on. We got Minnesota versus Chicago. Minnesota is favored by 1, and we have a low over-under of 42.5. What do you guys like from the Minnesota side of the ball?
Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Cinderella story. The guy came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's taken over the wide receiver 1 role there. I mean, last week they were talking about maybe not even playing him, that he was going to be coming off the bench and the reserve role because Charles Johnson was back and Mike Wallace was, supposedly their wide receiver 1, but he's seeing all the volume, all the targets.
And then he goes out there and gets the catch of the week.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was about to say. I mean, dude's an athletic freak, man. So how could you not play him? So, I mean, and Teddy Bridgewater seems to know it. He's gotten double-digit targets, I believe, the past couple weeks. So him and Teddy are getting more and more comfortable with one another. So, and this Bears secondary, man. I mean, we saw Stafford throw 4 touchdowns against him the other day, a couple weeks ago in Detroit. So I wouldn't fire up Teddy Bridgewater, but definitely Diggs makes for a great play.
Yeah, and actually the Bears are giving up the 5th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. So I don't think Bridgewater is a great play here, but I think that it's going to allow him the opportunity to get it to Diggs. And Diggs is priced so low on FanDuel, he's 6,700, and really hard to find a number 1 wide receiver at that price point. So he's a very good play this week.
4,800 on DraftKings. He's just about in every lineup I've made so far.
Yeah.
I could also see using the Vikings defense here, as Jay Cutler is known to turn the ball over, and they've done pretty good this year.
What do you guys feel about AP against this Bears defense?
The tobacco swallower?
He looks so stupid, man. Like he
beats kids and swallows tobacco. And he's not playing football.
It was so obvious that he was just lying through his teeth, man. I mean, he was just sitting there. Oh yeah. At first, word had got out that I had swallowed some shellfish, but actually I was on a plane and we had some turbulence and the tobacco and my stomach. It was like, dude, man, who cares? You played. You didn't play that well, but what do you think about him in this matchup versus the Bears?
I mean, I think he's still priced really high, so he has to have a big game to hit value on his price point. So I don't know. I don't think it's a good play.
Their offensive line is just terrible.
Surprisingly, Chicago's only given up. I say only, but only given up about 90 yards a game, or a little bit less than 1 rushing touchdown a game. So I know he's going to see the volume. He could definitely be a good GPP play here. Because it's AP. If he's not swallowing tobacco, he could rip off an 80-yarder at any time. But other than that, on the other side of the ball, man, I don't know what his price is on FanDuel, but Alshon Jeffrey is severely underpriced on DraftKings. It's 6,400. Just the targets and sheer volume he sees on a PPR site, I'm having a hard problem not putting him in a lot of my lineups.
Yeah, I agree.
I know he's going to see a lot of Captain Munnerlyn, but Pro Football Focus has him graded out as one of the lower safeties on the year this year. So they actually have it as a positive matchup in his favor. And if this game turns into any kind of aerial shootout like I think it could, Alshon Jeffrey is going to be, fed all those targets.
Yeah. Anything else from the Chicago side of the ball?
That's it for me. Not really a game I'm looking to target.
Same here.
Okay. All right, and before we move on to the next game, I forgot to mention that if you guys have any questions throughout the podcast, just feel free to tweet at either Kyle or Pat. You can tweet at Kyle at DFS_WizKyle or Pat at DFS_WizP. Also, if you're tuning in live here on Google, there's going to be a box in the upper right-hand corner. Just go ahead and click on that, and they'll drop down the Q&A. Throw out a question for the Q&A. We'll make sure it gets answered for you here on the podcast. All right, moving on. Next game we have is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta's favored by 7. We have a high over-under of 48.5. What stands out to you in this game, you guys?
Everybody. Oh, man, I could see a lineup consisting of players just from this game cashing. It's crazy. There's a lot of players in good spots.
Anyone in particular?
Anyone in particular? I like Doug Martin the most out of this game.
Interesting. Doug Martin. Okay. Yeah,
well, obviously.
Yeah.
This is very interesting game to me here. I could see this game going way over 48.5 or even way under. It's at home. Atlanta, Matt Ryan definitely plays better at home. And Tampa Bay has been the 29th ranked defense the last 5 weeks. They've allowed like 700 yards passing through the last couple weeks to guys like, oh gosh, I forgot who I texted you earlier about it, Kyle. I forgot who I said. But anyway, they've allowed a lot of passing touchdowns and a lot of yards the past couple weeks. And they've actually been very stout against the run. I could see this as a week where Julio just gets his. He is highly priced, but it's a great matchup, a great spot for him, and we all know that Matt Ryan performs a lot better at home. But you look at that total and you see that Atlanta's favored by 7, and we always want to play running backs favored at home in a good spot. So everybody wants to fire up the GOAT here, right? What do you guys think of the GOAT? GOAT Freeman.
I want to so bad. The price is super high. And Tampa Bay is actually good against the run, way better than they are the pass. They're not good. They're about league average, but they're also the worst against the pass. So
Yeah.
I'm sure the Falcons know that, and I'm sure they're going to attack through the air.
Kirk Cousins and oh gosh, I forget who else it was. They gave up 700 yards in 2 weeks to Kirk Cousins and
Bortles.
Yeah, Bortles, and 4 touchdowns to Bortles and Cousins, 700 yards passing to. So I just think that Matt Ryan and Julio just breaks one off in the secondary. So that's going to leave Tampa playing from behind. Atlanta's kind of an anomaly here too. Kyle and I were talking earlier today about how they've given up a lot of fantasy points to running backs, but they're only allowing a little over 3 yards per carry. So this looks like a good spot for Doug Martin on paper, but depending on game flow and his price across the industry, I'm having a hard time, deciding, I'm going to go back and forth all week long on to put him in or not, because on DraftKings, I think he's in because he's underpriced. On FanDuel, it's a tougher decision.
The thing I like about Doug Martin is the fact that they'll be playing from behind, and the Falcons' weakness is that they give up a lot of passing yards to running backs.
Mm-hmm.
So look for him to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield.
I agree with that, but what about Sims? Does anybody know what his volume has been the past couple of weeks with him playing from behind?
Not worried about it. Doug Martin is more than capable to catch out of the backfield, just like his Boise State days. There's not a chance that they play Sims over Doug Martin.
They have before, but I do think he still gets his.
I mean, they're obviously going to play Sims, but he's not going to get a majority of the snaps.
Oh yeah. I agree with you there. It's just one of those things where, like, the definite for sure plays, if you're playing cash, Julio, maybe Matt Ryan, Julio for sure, and then Doug Martin, I'm having a tough time fading him as well. But as a pure volume GPP play, what do you guys feel about the other side of the ball, the passing attack with Jameis Winston and Vincent Jackson?
I could just never feel comfortable with rostering any of those guys. They could be in great positions. I just would not feel comfortable.
We saw last week Mike Evans went off, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like last year as well, you would play one guy and the other guy would go off. You'd play Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson would go off. You'd play Jackson, Evans would go off. I mean, one of these receivers could very well go off, and if you play Winston in a GPP, he could throw 3 picks.
Yeah, I think that's the only way you can really think about rostering anybody from the Bucs side of the ball, and it'd pretty much only be Evans that you would roster and be in a GPP. Just going back to what you were talking about earlier, I'm really tempted to do a Matt Ryan and Julio stack here. Matt Ryan, on FanDuel is priced only at 8,000, and the Bucks give up the fourth most fantasy points to quarterback, so there's definitely an opportunity there, and he'll be looking to feed Julio much of the game, and we all know Matty Ice is solid at home, so I definitely like Matt Ryan this week as well.
Their defense is also a lot more solid at home, so blowout better.
Yep, they're in play as well. Atlanta D at home against Jameis. For sure.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next game. We have the New York Giants versus New Orleans Saints. Saints are favored by 3, and we have an over-under of 49. What do you guys think about the quarterback play in this game?
I like them both. Is Prince Amukamara back this week?
Not yet. He is having a second opinion and might have to have surgery, actually. I just saw that today.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I like both quarterbacks here. I like both teams, actually, and I would like to get some exposure to this game.
Yeah, I think it's kind of tough to find the right exposure here, though. From the Saints side of the ball, everyone was high on Snead and hasn't been doing as great as he once did. So that's kind of difficult to figure out who Brees going to throw to on the Saints side of the ball. And then on the Giants side of the ball, Beckham was obviously a great play. He's priced at 8,700, so his price has come down. But this might be an opportunity for him to turn things around. What do you guys think about Beckham this week?
I actually like Ruben Randall.
Oh. Okay.
Delvin Breaux has proven himself a very capable quarterback. He has shut out the likes of Julio Jones and others.
What about T.Y. Hilton last week?
I know, right? Well, he did. He shut him out for what, 3 quarters?
Yeah, right.
So I don't know what happened if they took him out. I had pretty much almost given up hope and quit watching by the 4th quarter, to be honest. But he's done his fair share of good coverage, and Beckham has seen a lot of double coverage this year as well, and he seems frustrated. He's having trouble shaking it. Where on the other hand, I know for sure that Brandon Browner sucks at his job. He's just, he's big, he's athletic, he gets a lot of pass interference calls. I don't know. I think that he might be served better as like a roaming linebacker or something like that. But as a cornerback, as a straight up one-on-one quarterback, he has been just burnt like post toast. He's all year long. And Ruben Randall showed that he has some, athleticism. I'm not going to fire him up in a cash game just because the targets and volume isn't there. But as an alternative GPP play, because everybody sees, OBJ, against the Saints defense, and they're going to, he's the shiny object there and want to fire him up. But Ruben Randall, don't sleep on him.
I agree.
I don't think you need to lose any sleep on him either, but
I agree.
All right. Anything else from this game, guys?
I actually kind of like some Mark Ingram here, man. The Cowboys, although they do have a great offensive line, they got Darren McFadden of old Arkansas Razorback fame going on these Giants last week, and he was running all over them boys. Giants supposedly to have a good run defense, but those holes last week were pretty big, and the Saints have been a little bit more committed to the run this week, with them favored at home by 3.5, and they have an implied point total of what is it? I just lost it here. Looks like it's about 28. So you got to think Mark Ingram's going to get his for at least one touchdown, if not, maybe 2, depending on how things work out with them getting up close to the goal line. Also, the Giants have been giving up the second most fantasy points to tight ends the past 5 weeks. Drew Brees, when he can't find Cooks, he can't find Snead, he looks to Ben Watson. He's very, very cheap on DraftKings. I like him as a alternative to some of the other tight ends we'll talk about later as a GPP play.
Good call. All All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next game. We have the San Francisco 49ers versus the St. Louis Rams. Rams are favored by 8, and the over-under is 39.5. So the important question I have here for you guys is, do the 49ers even have a chance?
No.
I figured.
This game is ugly. I mean, they have an implied total of what, 12.5 points?
Oh, is that the lowest you've seen all year?
That's the lowest I've seen in my lifetime since
that's the lowest I've ever seen.
Oh, that's so bad.
So that tells me two things. Rams D, Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
Fire them up, move on.
Who's D?
Rams D. Ramming that D. And Todd Gurley. Fire it up because they're going to ram it. They're going to ram it down those 49ers throat, Marty. I hate to tell you. I know those boys in San Francisco. I know everyone hates it out there. It's kind of a joke now. I mean, those teams. That's a team that has historically been great in my lifetime, and I know yours as well, Marty.
Yours just jokes.
It's sad to see it now. I mean, but they thought they'd get rid of Harbaugh and turn things around, but he's gone into the big house and done some things. Lost some big games with some crazy punts. But man, this 49ers team. I've seen some college teams play better ball than they are right now. So
yeah, I think the only thing we have going for us is we have a shiny new stadium. That's pretty much about it.
Good for y'all.
Yeah.
Good for y'all.
I think this is an easy one here. I think you just play the Rams D and you play Gurley like you mentioned. 49ers are giving up the 5th most fantasy points to running backs. They won't be able to stop Gurley, and they won't be able to score on the Rams D. So I think both are just pretty much locks in your lineups.
Agreed. A sneaky play here for me, Tavon Austin,
I agree.
Who has big play capability. He also returns kicks, so he gets that little bonus if he can bring one to the house.
That's my secret GPP stat, Kyle.
I love Tavon Austin. He's also cheap, really cheap.
He is, and they actually, if Todd Gurley or somebody in the Rams offense, if they get around the goal line, they work in some plays for him. I've seen them do some throwbacks. And I think one time last year he even threw for a touchdown at the goal line. So they look to get. He's just an athlete. They get him involved any way they can. So yeah, he's GPP candidate of the week. But cash games, fire up Rams D and Gurley.
Yeah, Pat, you actually brought up a good point there. For those who may not know, why would you want to play Tavon Austin on DK for a GPP play? What's the benefit of that?
Yeah, we haven't talked about that in a while. One good correlation that we talk about is playing a running back and the defense, because if
defense.
Yeah. The defense is in a good spot. The other team has a low total. That means they're going to be running out the clock and owning the ball, so that's a good correlation there. But on DraftKings, Tavon Austin returns punts and is all over the special teams. So that's a double dip bonus right there. So if you get if he happens to take one to the house, then not only do you get points from Tavon Austin scoring the touchdown, but you also get points for the Rams D getting that TD as well. So that's just double dip multiplier times 2. Those are the type of specials that are going to leap you above the competition in your GPP contest. So look for those things. Look at guys on teams that are returning punts that have big play capability. Defenses that are in good spots, build around those guys, especially if they're cheap on a site like DraftKings. I'm not sure what Tavon Austin's price, but he's been hovering around the $3.5K range all year long.
Yeah,
I like doing it on FanDuel as well.
Do you get double dip points on FanDuel as well?
Yeah. Yep.
Great.
So no matter who your defense is, your favorite defense, find their kick returner. If he's a huge part of the offense as well, you got to throw in one lineup with the combo.
Done and done.
Yep, good insight there. All right, next game we have the Arizona Cardinals versus the Cleveland Browns. Arizona's favored by 6, and we have a 46 over and under. To kind of keep this one quick, is there anything on the Cleveland side of the ball? Nope.
No.
Okay, going on to Arizona.
I want to play Chris Johnson, but I just don't see the carries being all there. It kind of looked like they were trying to bring Ellington back at the end of the game last week, and also Chris Johnson was not that good last week. I know on paper he did look good, but a lot of that came from one play. It's going to take that one big play to really get his value.
Yeah, for me, he's not. He's a questionable play on a site like FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's severely underpriced. He's been getting 18 carries just about the last few games at 4.6K. He's right in there with, flex consideration. Just depending on roster construction, how it comes down, and that's another thing to talk about. Maybe we could have a whole other show on, constructing rosters and how we pick our favorite plays when we're putting things together. But depending on how it works out, usually the flex spot on DraftKings is the last position I plug in. If I can work it around to he can fit, I mean, he's a great play with this Cleveland Browns defense being the next to worst versus the run, or actually the third. They're the third worst versus the run in the NFL, right behind the San Diego Chargers. So 18 carries a game. He's seen the volume. It's hard for him not to get his at 4.6K on DraftKings. Other than that, I don't see anybody in play here.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, let's go on to the next game. And this game is a little bit more interesting. We have Cincinnati Bengals versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are now favored by 1.5, and the over/under is 48.5. When this line opened, the Bengals were favored by 2.5, so that's definitely swung on the other side now. Now with the news that pretty much Roethlisberger looks like he's going to come back, so Vegas definitely thinks more of the Steelers here. I think there's some pretty good plays here. What do you guys think of this game?
With Big Ben back, I love Le'Veon Bell. Bengals are a lot worse against the run than they are the pass. And Big Ben likes to target Bell out of the backfield. He gets double-digit targets out of the backfield when Big Ben is playing quarterback.
I couldn't agree more.
Pass on the ground, but he's going to get his receptions as well.
I couldn't agree more, man. Bell, he's one of my favorite plays of the week. I want to work him in so bad. It's just salaries, man. So these sites did a lot better job this week at salaries. It seems like this year has been a whole lot more different than years past, where if you didn't pay up for one of those 9 or 8K quarterbacks, then you were going to be left in the dust. But the value this year has been at quarterback, and you kind of had to pay up for those top tier wide receivers at times. And Bell is going to see the volume. Like Kyle said, Cincinnati has definitely been prone to big breaks in the run game. On the other side of the ball, A.J. Green has typically had really good games against Pittsburgh. This Pittsburgh secondary has definitely shown propensity to being thrown all over, and he usually comes to play. But one guy I might like for a sneaky play here is Tyler Eifert.
That's my favorite player over Green. I was just going to mention him.
Yeah.
Killed by tight ends, especially elite tight ends.
Yeah, they're allowing 6.5 receptions a game to tight ends, at least 1 touchdown a game to tight ends. He's priced up a little bit, but man, he makes for a very safe, high floor, high ceiling play, in my opinion.
Yeah, I also like Andy Dalton in this game as well. I mean, you can definitely throw on Pittsburgh, and this is going to be a type of scenario where it's going to be a close game. So I can also see both sides of the ball trying to throw the ball quite a bit here. So I like AJ Green. I definitely like Eifert as well. And again, Cincinnati's coming off a bye, so they're going to be healthy. They're going to be rested. I expect to see a good game out of Cincinnati on this one.
Yeah, this is good. This is going to be one of my favorite games to watch this weekend. It's going to be hard not to have somebody, on rosters from this game, with it being a 48.5, 49 over under. Like I said, I want to try to fit Bell in, but it's just tough to do with the salaries the way it's constructed this week.
And one other thing I'm going to throw out there as well, if you look at Antonio Brown, I mean, he's priced at 8,400, and he's got Roethlisberger back. This might be the only time you can get him at that level of price. As soon as he has a good game, that's going to jump all the way back up to 9,000. So he's going to have a big game here shortly with Roethlisberger back, and this might be the type of game where he could have that good game.
I like the point. I just don't know if it's this week against the Bengals. Bengals are pretty tough against the pass.
He's got a good one-on-one matchup versus Adam Jones, who he's burned in the past. I don't know if he reaches value because, like Kyle said, they're going to give the volume to Bell. Bell's definitely more of my cash game consideration. But fire up AB in all of your GPPs.
Yeah.
He could burn Adam Jones and make him look like, he's in high school or should not even be on the same field as him. Because, I mean, people have probably forgotten that AB is one of the most talented receivers in the game with Big Ben at quarterback. So I love him for all my GPPs.
Agreed. All right. Anything else from this game?
That's it.
All right. Moving on to San Diego Chargers versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are favored by 3. We have over/under 50.5. So, Kyle, what do you think about Rivers in this situation?
This is my favorite game. I love Rivers. Rivers is my favorite quarterback here. I also want to play Keenan Allen if Gates is out again, which it looks like he is. Also, Ladarius Green is a great player. I'll let you guys take care of the Baltimore side.
Well, the only thing I would say as far as, to me, there's really only one play on the Baltimore side, and that's Forsett. On FanDuel is 6,900, so he's priced pretty low. The Chargers do give up the most fantasy points to running backs. They do give up quite a bit of yardage. I could see this also being a game where Flacco has to dump off the ball to Forsett a lot. I could see him getting a lot of receptions. At that price, I think it's a pretty good play, especially at 6,900 on FanDuel.
Right. Ignore the game log. He had brutal matchups in previous weeks, so don't look at that too much. But no Steve Smith here.
I definitely like him for GPPs. I mean, I would with an over/under of 50.5. I might even do a Flacco and Smith stack and some of my GPPs.
Yeah, he's the pivot. But with a guy like Forsett, Marty brought up a good point. If this game gets out of hand and it is competitive, which they're only favored by 3, Forsett's not going to come out of the game. He's involved in the passing game. He sees all the volume pretty much. With the Chargers being second last in the league versus the run, and that kind of volume, and he makes for great, safe, high ceiling play. On the other side of the ball, I love Keenan Allen and his targets, but man, Stevie Johnson is so cheap. And with Gates out last week and 2 weeks ago when Gates was out, he saw 8 targets in both of those games. So if you want to try to fit one of those studs, if you want to try to fit a Julio, you want to try to fit a Bell in your lineup, man, and also get exposure to this 50.5 over/under, my man Stevie could be the way to go. A lot of people are going to pivot to, with Gates being out, pivot to Green, which I don't think is a bad play. Baltimore does have some good linebackers that can cover the pass. He's so cheap on DraftKings, though. He's $3K, so it's tough to not consider him there. But for me, with Stevie being about the same price, I think he's my exposure I want on the value side of the ball. And then, with Keenan Allen being my GPP pivot with Like you said, Kyle, with Steve Smith being my GPP pivot on the Baltimore side, but fire up some Forsett, fire up some Rivers. Rivers is going to throw it a ton. What do you guys think about Danny Woodhead? Seems like they've given up on Gurley. I'm not Gurley.
Gordon.
Gordon. Gordon.
Gordon.
It's been so bad.
They brought him back at the end of the game last week.
You did what?
They brought him back at the end of the game last week, which I don't know what that was about. I don't know if they plan on playing him more this week, but he was the running back in the third and fourth quarter last week.
After Woodhead saw all those targets and like 30 yards receiving and just went, I mean, he had like 33 fantasy points and just went off, man.
Yeah.
I definitely like him on DraftKings, getting the extra point for reception. I think it's probably a good play to put in your flex spot to be able to spend up in other places this week.
I agree. Totally agree, man. It's a good game, man. It's good, full of fantasy goodness. Make sure you get some plays from this game, guys.
See what we can do. All right, moving on to the next game. We have the Tennessee Titans versus the Houston Texans. Houston is favored by 4, looks like. So, Kyle, what do you think about Tennessee and the offensive side of the ball this week?
Marcus Mariota is my favorite quarterback to save money with. I like Delaney Walker here.
And Pat, you love Mariota this week as well, right?
Man,
Come on.
You want to. You know, you've seen how bad Houston's defense has been. You've seen, time in and time again, offenses break it off, against them and just rub them a raw one. And I mean, you got to think J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. You got to think these boys are just tired of it, man. I mean, we're halfway into the season. I mean, are they going to lay down now? Are they going to step it up? What are they going to do? They're at home and they're favored. That's the interesting thing there to me to see. Not only did they lose Arian Foster, but
that's another reason to give up.
Yeah, you lost Arian Foster, but you're at home and you're favored with a backup quarterback. You just got rid of who was your starting quarterback because he slept in and missed practice a couple weeks ago, missed a flight and was late to the game last week. So, I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff's happening.
Ryan Mallett reminds me of the quarterback from Blue Mountain State. I don't know if you guys ever watched that show.
No, but I had to endure 4 years.
Watch the show. It's one of the shows ever. It's so funny.
As an Arkansas fan, I've never seen a bigger waste of talent in my life. I can't stand that guy. He's just underachiever and just over talented for what he's done. But anyway, I really think. I mean, Vegas is telling me something here. I really think Tennessee. They've got Clowney's fully healthy. J.J. Watt's healthy. They're favored here. You want to play somebody on the Tennessee side, but who is it? I think the safest play, Kyle hit the nail on the head with Delaney Walker.
Yeah.
I think if Mariota gets announced healthy to play, I think that Vegas total goes up.
It could. It very well could. I also like we saw when Foster was out earlier this year, Nuke Hopkins, man, he got so much volume, so many targets, so many receptions. And you would think that, the Titans, they're professionals. They're going to try to key in on that. But he will be matched up against Parrish Cox, who is graded out as one of the league's worst cornerbacks this year so far. I don't see him having a problem burning Parrish Cox, who Julio ran all over the field, walked all over the field like a dog last week. So fire up some Hopkins here, maybe some Walker. Other than that, stay away.
The only thing that concerns me about Hopkins is Arian Foster being out. Obviously, the safeties aren't worried about stepping up to the box, and they can sag back and give over-the-top help. only reason I don't like Hopkins, but he does have a great matchup.
Agreed.
Agreed. All right, I think that's about it for this game. Let's move on. Next game, we have the New York Jets versus the Oakland Raiders. The Jets are favored by 2, and we have an over-under of 44. What do you guys think about the Jets side of the ball?
Man, it's tough. I want to say Ivory, but the Raiders are pretty good against the run. Brandon Marshall's probably the only one I can see here.
Yeah, I definitely think Marshall's a pretty good play. Seeing over 10 targets a game. A guy I like maybe a little bit more is actually Decker. He's priced at 6,400. He's a cheaper option, and last game he got 12 targets. So Fitzpatrick is feeding him the ball a little bit more. Even Fitzpatrick himself is priced pretty low, but I think Decker is actually a pretty good play this week. What do you guys think?
I like it.
I like Decker for the savings if you want to get some exposure.
Yeah. So we all know, ideally, you want to play your tight end versus the Raiders, but
Cumberland?
yeah, did the Jets even have one? I mean, I know it's Cumberland, but I mean, do they even use him? I mean, I don't think we can use that this week.
This will be the ultimate test right here.
Right? Yeah.
To see, if Cumberland gets in, then I'm doing it for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's not bad they actually are.
And I'm also hunting down Owen Daniels. I'm going to find him, and I'm going to choke slam him.
Yeah.
He is. I'm going to try to do it. I mean, because how he burned us all when he had this matchup here. Man, on the other side of the ball, I really like Michael Crabtree here. The Raiders aren't going to be able to throw it, and we've seen them become.
Too.
What?
I love Crabtree as well.
Yeah, the Raiders aren't going to be able to run it, and we've seen that they've actually preferred to turn to the aerial attack this year with Derek Carr stepping it up, and Amari Cooper with the Jets. Darrelle Revis will shadow Amari Cooper most of the time. That will leave Crabtree's seen a lot of Buster Skrine, a little bit of Antonio Cromartie, but Crabtree's had double-digit targets the past few weeks. So, especially with his price around the industry, man.
Yeah.
If you're coming down roster construction, you plug in your favorite plays, you plug in the studs you want, you plug in the value you want, and you just can't seem to fit it in. Man, he's one of those guys that you can turn to that has a pretty safe floor for his price.
Absolutely. It's been a theme to target the Jets with wide receiver twos. It worked last week when I recommended it. Amendola, he went off. I'm going back to it. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
I'm with you.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I think that people are overlooking, too, is that Crabtree actually has more targets on the season than Cooper. He doesn't have the big plays like Cooper does, but Carr's finding him, or looking for him, at least a lot more than he is Cooper. So at 5,700 on FanDuel, I think Crabtree is a great play this week.
4.6K on DraftKings. He's
Very. Okay, let's move along here. Next game we have is the Seahawks versus the Dallas Cowboys. Seattle's favored by 6. They have a low over-under of 41. Guys, is there anything from the Dallas side of the ball here this week?
I wanted to like Jason Witten initially, but with Des Bryant coming back, it kind of takes a little bit away from the targets. I still like Witten, just not as much.
I liked him initially based on the matchup because we've seen kind of a trend with the cornerbacks being so good. The Seahawks, a lot of teams have been forced to throw it down the middle. But Matt Castle's one of those quarterbacks. He likes to take risks. What did he throw? He threw 2 interceptions last week versus the Giants, taking chances downfield to Terrence Williams. Terrence Williams actually came up with a couple big plays, but he's just too risky and doesn't focus in on Witten. He did have 8 targets, so I do like him. It's kind of hard to like him enough for a cash game here, but if I was going to play anything or anyone from this game, it'd probably be the Seahawks defense to come up with a interception and maybe take one back to the house.
I agree.
I agree. I think Sherman makes Des Bryant look like a sorry-ass receiver.
I hope so, because, man, I'm sitting here in the middle of Cowboys Nation, man, and all these people just ranting and raving all about some Cowboys, and I love it when that type of stuff happens, man.
The worst fans ever. No offense to anybody, but Cowboys fans are the worst fans ever.
And I'm sitting here living right in the middle of it, man. It's just like if you're from the South, you got to root for the Cowboys. I can't stand it. They're terrible. They stink. I love it. Fire up the Seahawks defense.
The other play I kind of like in this game is Marshawn Lynch, 8,300. Dallas gives up a lot of points to the running back, and Lynch looked really good last game. He had over 120 yards and scored a touchdown, so looked a lot better than he was earlier on in the year. So I think this could be an opportunity, especially if Seattle favored by quite a bit, a low-scoring game that you could pair up Lynch with Seattle D as well.
I want to see Seattle give Bryce Brown an opportunity. They just picked him up, and I've just been dying to play him since he went off with the Eagles a couple years ago. The guy's talented, but it seems like nobody wants to play him.
Yeah.
Well, Lynch, I'm with Marty. Lynch looked good last week. They gave him some volume. He tore off some big runs. He was running over people. He looked like the beast mode of old. With them being favored, I like him here, man. He's not my favorite cash game running back play, but I wouldn't hate on it.
All right, I got 2 more games left. We have the Packers versus the Broncos. Packers are favored by 3 with an over/under of 45.5. So, guys, do we like anybody from the Packers here on the road being favored against Denver?
Man, this is just an all-out fade here.
Yeah, it's so tough, man. You want to play somebody because this is a great offense, one of the best offenses in the National Football League. But I just read a crazy stat. Aaron Rodgers has only had to throw the ball no more than 35 times a game. They've been very efficient.
Mm-hmm.
They have dominated all the teams they've played. They haven't played a defense like these Denver Broncos yet. I don't see them going in and just having their will. They're definitely not going to be able to establish the run with Fat Eddie or James Starks. So, if you're going to pick somebody from the Green Bay side of the ball, I don't know who it is. Maybe for a super low-owned GPP play, James Jones, because if they get in the red zone, Aaron's going to look his way. He tends to look his way all the time in the red zone, and James Jones seems to get his. But other than that, from the Green Bay side, I'm not seeing him like anyone.
I can see using the kickers here. I do think there's going to be points put up here, as these offenses are both pretty efficient when Payton's not throwing picks. And it's going to be a really close game where every point matters.
That's a good point. I like that, actually.
Yeah, it's a good point, definitely. I so badly want to play Demaryius Thomas here, or sometime soon. I mean, his price keeps dropping, and yet he's still getting a lot of targets. He's fourth.
Yes, passes he dropped. I think it was last week or the week before that, though. It was insane. Wide open passes on 3rd and longs, and he was dropping them.
He's one of the best receivers in the game still, though. I know he's had a couple bad games, but really he's still getting a lot of targets. He's 4th in the league in targets. The one thing that's really bringing down his value is he only has 1 touchdown. So I know it's really bringing down his value. I don't necessarily think this is the best place to play him. I want to roster him, but again, I don't think this is the place to do it.
Wait till next week or the next see if his price drops low. He's still priced too high. I mean, they're still pricing these guys like from the year before or last year when Peyton Manning still had an elite arm, but Man, I hate to say it, but that dude's got a noodle arm. Dead. His arm is dead, done. I hate to say it, but until these algorithms catch up and realize that Peyton Manning has a noodle, compute Demaryius Thomas price drop. Until that happens, don't play him.
Right.
I think it has to do a lot with that offensive line, to be honest, because I have saw him throw, 40, 50 yards down the field where he does step up into the pocket and deliver a nice ball.
Yeah.
I think he's throwing a lot off his back foot and just at his age is just super worried about getting hit. That offensive line is terrible.
Yeah, I agree, man. He's just not in the ideal situation as he has been in the past. I actually like Ronnie Hillman for an underowned tournament option because he's targeted out of the backfield in the passing game, and the Packers don't have that stout of a run defense, and he's cheap on DraftKings, full PPR site. I think he'll see around 20 touches or so. So, I mean, he could definitely, end up putting on some volume because, like Kyle said, there's going to be some points scored here. On a site like FanDuel, the safest way to go would probably be to pick a kicker. On DraftKings, in a tournament, maybe some Ronnie.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to our last game of the night. We have the Indianapolis Colts versus the Carolina Panthers. Carolina is favored by 7, and we have a over/under of 46. So I need your guys' help with this one because typically, whenever I play a quarterback on Monday night, it always performs bad for me. So Cam Newton looks good to me on this one. So help me, guys here. Talk me out of it. Why should I not play Cam Newton this week?
Because for 400 more, you can get Phillip Rivers on FanDuel. I like Cam Newton. I think he's in a great spot. I just don't see a reason to pay that price for him when you have Phillip Rivers just right above him, and then below him you have some better options for cheaper prices.
This is another one of those spots here this week where the opposing team's weakness, the team they're facing isn't that really strong, whereas the Colts have been passed on all year long and run on, really. But, Carolina's run game isn't that great. You're not going to fire up J. Stu with confidence in their pass game. Who you're going to take, out wide. You're really going to feel comfortable about Ross with some Ted Ginn. The only plays here, in my opinion, are Cam Newton and some Greg Olsen. I like some Greg Olsen here. Sees high volume. The problem here with Olsen, man, his price is up there. He's priced high like a Gronk. I think these sites realized Gronk was playing Thursday night, so they had to separate the field here, and on tight end it's tough this week. They jacked Olsen up there, so he's my favorite play from this game. Other than that, I do like some Cam, man. He can run on these boys. See, Indianapolis' weakness is the run, but what are they going to do? Are they going to run the read option with him all game? If this was a college game, Cam Newton would be my number one quarterback on the board. But this would be an NFL game. I'm just kind of wanting to fade it.
We let the dogs out.
I know, right?
All right. So funny though, we haven't mentioned anything from the Colts side of the ball. Why not? What do you guys think? What's wrong with the Colts this week?
Turning the ball over too much, and then that Panthers D has looked pretty impressive this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andrew Luck throws picks left and right. The Panthers secondary. Was it Joseph?
What was that?
Josh Norman.
No, Josh Norman. Yeah, that's something of Josh, not Joseph. Josh Norman. Josh Norman's been one of the better cornerbacks in the year so far. He'll be matched up with one-on-one with Ty. He'll probably take him out and shut him down. You'll see Peanut Tillman Charles Tillman matched up the other side with Dante. I could see maybe Dante maybe doing a little bit, but Carolina has a pretty stout front seven as well. So, man, we saw the front seven of New Orleans last week just get all over Andrew Luck, and that dude just does not have any time to throw whatsoever. If I was going to play anybody for this game with confidence, other than Cam, it'd be the Panthers' defense.
I agree.
Agreed. All right, I think that's gonna about do it for the Week 8 slate. Now, typically, what we do is we go through our questions from our viewers. To start off, Kyle or Pat, do you guys have any questions from Twitter?
0. Everybody's got it figured out this week.
Yeah, everybody knows. Pick up my head-to-heads, guys. Y'all can. If y'all got it figured out.
All right, well, that was a quick round of questions then. Moving on to our top picks of the week. We go position by position, and we'll each kind of throw out whatever we think is the best player in that position. So, Pat, let's go ahead and start with you. Who's your top quarterback this week?
My top quarterback this week, man. I'm not gonna go. I like Cam a lot. I do.
Camelot?
I do.
Camelot.
I think he provides some upside with his running capability. He is that offense. He carries that team. Monday night, prime time. He's gonna put it at home. They're undefeated. He's gonna look to keep them that way. I really think he shows up and performs, man.
All right. Kyle, how about you? Who's your favorite quarterback?
I'm gonna stick to what I've been saying all day and go Mariota. I think he's on fleek this week.
He's on fleek. Yeah, we're probably the last guys that should ever be saying that, and I think that's why it's more often. And for me, Andy Dalton, I really like him this week, mainly because I really like A.J. Green and Tyler Eifert in this matchup. High-scoring game. I'm trying to just figure out who am I going to pair him up with between Green or Eifert, really.
You don't like a naked Andy?
Not like you, Pat.
I'm not scared of a naked Andy. I'm not scared. I'll roll him out there alone.
Fire crotch.
He could put up his points on his own, man. He's been one of the leading fantasy point quarterbacks in the league. I just like that none of us said Rivers. I like that.
Yeah.
Running backs.
All right, Kyle. Running backs. Who's your top running back?
Justin Forsett.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to take the easy route out here, and I'll say Gurley.
Man, my man, Le'Veon Bell, my favorite player in the league. He's my top option at the position.
Can't argue.
All right. All right, wide receivers. Already mentioned that I love A.J. Green, so I'm going to stick with him this week. Pat, how about you?
I'm going to go with the early game. I love Megatron. If you're playing that game, I love that matchup. If you're not, Julio.
All right. Kyle, how about you?
Favorite receiver. Man, there's a lot of good options this week.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Steve Smith.
All right.
That game's going to be a shootout. It's a good pick.
Okay. All right, let's move on to tight ends. Pat, who's your favorite tight end?
I don't like any ends that are tight, but if I had to pick one, if I'm paying up, I'm going Greg Olsen.
All right. So Pat does not like tight ends, so we'll have to figure out what kind of ends he does like. But other than that, Kyle, go ahead. Your favorite tight end?
Oh man. Let's go Tyler Eifert.
Okay. And for me, it would be Delaney Walker. He'll pair up nicely with your Mariota pick.
You know what we should do, guys, is we take turns picking our favorite guy at each position. We write them down and see who wins with our 5 guys or 4, whatever it is.
Why don't we just play a 3-man?
Could do that too.
Another 3-way.
Oh boy, it's getting to the end of the podcast. I can see. All right, Kyle, your favorite defense this week?
My favorite D this week has to be the Rams. How could you not after last week?
Yep.
Like we mentioned earlier, Tavon Austin is always a threat to take one back, get that double whammy there.
Yep. And my favorite B is the Rams, but I'm going to go with Seahawks as my second favorite B this week.
I like that. Sneaky, under-owned, underpriced option here against Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the Atlanta Falcons. I think people see them as a weaker defense, but they've been stepping it up.
Yep.
Jameis Winston's been prone to throwing some interceptions, so fire him up.
I agree.
All right, so that's about it for us this evening. Before we head out, Kyle or Pat, you guys have any other comments, any other thoughts?
Nothing but just, man, we appreciate you guys watching, tuning in. Just keep doing what you're doing, watching us, retweeting. We greatly appreciate it. We can't tell you how much we do. And then hopefully if none of us takes down a GPP or wins a bunch of money in cash games, that one of you guys that listen to us will.
Yeah, over 4,000 plus views last week. Can't tell you how much that means when we saw that. Shows that our hard work is paying off and people are actually watching. And then the lineups we received that people have been from watching the show. Can't tell you how much that means to us as well. We're here to help you guys. It's why we do it. We don't actually get anything from this. We just do it to see you guys be successful off of it. We like helping you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we enjoy doing it, and we enjoy you guys watching as well. So continue to keep watching, continue to keep retweeting, continue to keep hitting us up with your questions and feedback. We greatly appreciate it. All right, so that's going to do it for this evening. Thanks again, everyone, for viewing in. And for Kyle, for Pat, I'm Marty, and thanks for viewing in, and have a great night.
Good luck.
Good luck, guys.